The controversial family's bid, saying it didn't comply with the country's laws. We're now joined by the EFF's chairperson, Advocate Dali Mpofu. Advocate, good to have you in studio with us. Let's start off on the 22nd of January 2015. Tell us what happened at around then.
Well, what seems to have happened from the documentation that we have is that the Director General denied the application or refused the application on the basis, that the persons mentioned in the application had not been in the country for the requisite 5 years, or they had left the country for a period of more than 90 days in that 5 years, which are the two major requirements.
All right. Who were the applicants? Well,
the applicants were, there were 3 Gupta people, and then the other 2, I think, were younger, had a different surname, so we assume that they were children. I think the one person was born in 1995, yeah.
So we're looking at visuals of this right now, and very quickly we see Mr. A.K. Gupta and family. We see the correspondence addressed to them. Are we talking about Atul Gupta there?
Yes.
All right. The 2 dates I was interested by were the dates when they came to South Africa, and this is according to the Mail and Guardian. Atul, it says, was the first to arrive in 1993. Rajesh was the last to arrive in 1997. And there we see the names contained in this application: Mr. A.K. Gupta, Mrs. S. Gupta, Mrs. A. Gupta, and the 2 singulars born a little bit later on. So you say, I mean, what the Mail and Guardian tells us appears to reflect that they were in the country for between 20 and 24 years at least, but you say that was interrupted with a period outside the country.
Well, it must have been, if indeed they had arrived at that time, then it must have been interrupted. But remember, this is exactly why we're saying this should be investigated, because the initials, all we know is that these are people with Gupta surnames. Once we get the information from the department, which we're going to ask for very promptly, because they must give us the record, they must give us these files so that we know when did these people apply, who were they, what are their full names, why were they rejected, did they jump the queue? All those questions arise because remember, what we are dealing with is an already suspicious circumstance of a minister who, according to all the other evidence in the emails, in all the other dossiers that we have released, was captured by the Guptas. So it's not like if it was Joanne, Joseph, and fast-tracking the application, well, he's got the power to do that. The question here is, what were because the Act is very clear. It says he may, which means he has a discretion. Secondly, it says under exceptional circumstances. So what were the exceptional circumstances? And there may well be exceptional circumstances, but we need to find, the country at this stage needs to know whether those exceptional circumstances involve bags of money or telephone calls from Jacob Zuma or whatever. And if we're wrong, but it must all come out in the open.
Let's look at what happened on the 30th of May after the Director General, Mr. Hlachwaya, responded saying this is not going to be possible. Tell us what happened then.
Well, that's exactly what we want to know. What happened between that letter, because Mr. Hlachwaya's letter is very clear. It says that you may apply again in December, which, if you read between the lines, means maybe the 5-year period would have ended by December for one or more of the people. But before December comes in May, Gigaba intervenes and grants the application. And remember, it's very clear, there's no doubt that they did not qualify, because by the invocation of that section says in so many words, if notwithstanding section 1C, the minister may, under exceptional circumstances, grant a certificate, blah, 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 to an applicant who does not comply. So he could not have used that section if they complied. So the question of whether they complied or not, South Africa must accept that they did not comply. If they did not comply, then on what basis did Gigaba then use the extraordinary powers that he had to fast-track their application? What were these exceptional circumstances that were pressing? And you might well find that the citizenship had to be acquired for corrupt purposes. Maybe they needed to buy something which would require them to be South Africans. So it's part of the whole web of corruption in respect of which Gigaba always emerges as the key fixer for the Guptas. So for him, firstly, should he even have taken this decision? Because if he had any business or other corrupt links with the Guptas, it means he was conflicted. He should not even have exercised the discretion, even if he had it. So those are the issues that must arise now that we're going to be digging on this. Firstly, we must get, as I say, the information, the whole file.
Are they going to give it to you necessarily?
Well, they have to. Remember now, it's not Gigaba per se. When we bring this action, we are bringing it against the Minister of Home Affairs. So the current Minister, Hlengi Wemkhize, is going to have either to die for Gigaba's sins or give us the information so that it's clear whether there were shenanigans or not. But we are almost 90% sure that this was part of the broader web of state capture. There's no way that Malusi Gigaba would suddenly intervene, overrule his own administration and give the Guptas preferential treatment, and that there's no funny business there.
What legal action do you propose taking here?
Well, this is reviewable because remember the wording that I just read to you. The mere fact that the state, rather the act says that the minister may do this and the other means that he was exercising a discretion. And that discretion must then be scrutinized, whether it was done lawfully or not. As I said, Section 96 of the Constitution prohibits ministers to act whenever their own private interest is affected. And we already know that Gigaba's private interest is exactly coincides with that of the Guptas. So those are the issues that we will take. We'll review this because the review approach gives us access to the record, as you saw in the recent case about the reshuffle. They must give us the record and the reasons why the discretion was exercised. And if it is found that it was wrongly exercised, then it means we could go as far as to say we're challenging. It means the citizenship of the Guptas might well be reversed.
Very interesting indeed. Let's see how this develops. Thank you for coming in to speak to us. EFF chairperson, Advocate Dali Mpofu.